Hey everybody, it's Ron and Dave. I am at, what am I at? The
Archaeological Museum.
The Archaeological Museum of Kofu. Are we still in Kofu?
Yamanashi.
Yamanashi. All right. We're going to check out some prehistoric stuff, hopefully Jomon things. We got one of these futuristic ticket machines here. I'm getting rid of all my 10 yen coins. So interesting that the Paleolithic, which lasted tens and hundreds of thousands of years, is always the smallest part in a museum because there's just not that much from it.
Right.
So even like the Paleolithic in Japan, it's shorter than other countries because they only got here about 40,000 years ago. But that's still, until the Jomon, was 30,000 years. And yet it's just one small section.
Yeah.
Very small section.
Ichinosawa ruins. The Sake Nomiba ruins.
I see, like that would be a very functional conversation piece in anybody's home today. But this is where the Jomon get their name, because it has the rope mark,
Oh, really?
pottery,
Okay.
or cord mark. But that's where it's called Jomon, is based on this pottery style.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's a much modern name given to this culture.
Okay.
What they called themselves, we have no idea.
Right.
All right, now take a look over here
What's that?
at this face.
Oh.
You notice anything
That's familiar.
interesting? But do you look at the design on the face? What do you think that is?
Well, I've learned that it's supposed to be a human, right?
Yeah. But you see the lines.
The eyebrows, you mean? Or
No, below the eyes.
underneath the eyes?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Like someone crying or something?
Well, actually, it's supposed to be a tattoo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they believe like some of the Jomon practice face tattoos.
Okay. Very quick.
And how do modern Japanese feel about tattoos?
No onsen for you.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm not saying aliens, but aliens. All right, as someone who's tried a lot of food, what do you think of the Jomon food
The diet?
selection? Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it would be good or, I mean, it's certainly natural, so it's going to be healthy in that
It's-
regard, right?
It's definitely organic.
Organic, yes, that's the word. Yeah.
And what about the vegetables we see there?
Oh, yeah, those are mushrooms, or what are they? I don't know, I guess it depends how they eat them. Are they going to make them into a casserole, or I don't know what their cooking capabilities or incentives are back then. I'm no expert on this, but I would guess they make a lot of like stew kind of dishes or something, just because they use those kind of pots to cook in a lot.
Now, it's unlikely they would have like all of this food at one time, though.
True.
It seems like their version of a Jomon Thanksgiving. But this does give an idea of like how varied their diet obviously was, of having bird, vegetables, nuts, chestnuts, fish, and of course deer.
Like why are the bottoms so tapered? You know what I mean?
Oh, I think it's way how they use them. Like when they put them on the fire, like it
Yeah.
was the way their stove
Stick
was.
into the
Yeah.
coals better.
And do you notice any difference with this pottery?
Compared to the earlier stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a lot smoother. They got no designs on them. They're just functional, I guess.
Yeah. Would you say these are older or more newer?
Well, based on what I learned today, I would say they were newer.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's rather interesting that the artistic side faded away
Right.
and became more functional.
Did they started functional, then went artistic, then went back to functional?
Yeah. I think, like, structurally, of course, better design, stronger, and so on, but, artistic-wise, it's rather lacking.
Yeah.
This is the Yayoi period. The Yayoi period is from around 300 BCE. There's some people push it back to 1000 BC to about roughly 300 AD. The name really has no meaning. It's just Yayoi was the neighborhood where they first found this pottery at.
Okay.
Whereas like the Jomon is named after like the specific style of the pottery. This was just named after the neighborhood where it was found. So if they had found this in another place, it would have a completely different. It's kind of like how Neanderthal.
Yeah.
I used to think that meant something, but that's the name of the valley where they found the bones. The first found the bones at.
I see.
But the main thing about the Yayoi, so weren't so known for their decorative pottery, but they really liked their bells.
Oh yeah.
So I think they did like rituals with these bells and the noise that they would make. Well, you got to think especially at this time, something bronze, in a time when most people, their clothing and tools were simple. So something like bronze was like, blew their mind. This is like that period. Kofun is the earth mounds, the mounds that they built like 300 AD to about 600, 700. But in the Kofun, they found like a lot of grave goods of armor and what these dolls known as Haniwa.
Yeah.
And mirrors, a lot of mirrors from China. It's the glaze on that. So look at that. Let's see, horses were very important in the Kofun era because the warriors of that time were mounted warriors. They would have been like, I guess you could say, like the precursors of the samurai. Especially I know a lot of people think of the samurai as these wandering swordsmen.
Right.
But the early samurai were mounted warriors, in fact, mounted archers. These are called Haniwa from the Kofun era. So these little statues were made around 300 AD to about 600 AD.
Okay. What are they for?
They would put them around the tombs.
Okay.
Now, according to a story in the Nihon Shoki, the ancient chronicles of Japan, it said when high nobles and emperors died, their servants would be buried along with them. Or like they'd be buried like half up to their body and just left to rot.
Really?
Yeah, the story is really horrific.
Yeah.
So, the emperor woke up one morning and was distressed to hear the cries of the people as they slowly died of starvation and wild animals. And dang, I can't keep this mask on my nose. One of his ministers came up with the idea of creating these statues, these Haniwa, in lieu of actual people. So you could say these statues saved lives.
Okay, so one
Yeah.
of his ministers,
Yeah.
ergo one of his servants,
Yes. Yeah, probably.
came up
like
with this idea.
Hey, wait a minute. Yeah.
What a great
I
idea.
think though he was high enough
Okay.
cast that he wasn't going.
Okay,
But you never know. That is
You
an
know
idea.
what I'm
Like,
saying.
wait a minute. Hey, look, I love you, Emperor, and all that, but I really don't want to be half buried at your grave and
So
be
what's
torn
the-
apart by wild
What's
animals.
the logic behind killing all your servants?
Because a lot of these ancient cultures would do that, like
Okay.
in China and Sumeria, and ancient, like the very early parts of ancient Egypt, pre-dynastic. It was just very common for servants to go with their master,
Right.
to serve them in the afterlife.
What I meant was an incentive for the servant
Yeah.
to protect and keep the master
Well,
alive
I
as
guess
long
they,
as
I guess they
possible.
felt like they were going into the afterlife with their master.
Okay. it's
So
a
maybe it was
different
an
mindset.
assurance that they had an afterlife. Yeah. And over here we get into our historical periods of the Asuka, Nara, Heian, and I believe also Kamakura. It was at the end of the Kofun period and what is called the Asuka period, when Buddhism was introduced to Japan, and then also a lot of Chinese culture, completely changing Japan. So that was the Yamanashi Archaeological Museum
Yes.
in the Kofu area.
Yeah.
Very interesting, a lot of interesting artifacts. Small, but I mean, what do you expect? It's a small area. And
But-
here we have
Yeah.
a mammoth from Paleolithic times, or I think technically, I think it's known as a Naumann elephant or something like that. I'll put it in the subtext there. But this is what Paleolithic Japanese would hunt for food.
I like how they include the cute.
Of course,
Cute little
it's
baby.
Japan.
It's
It's Japan. They gotta have
yeah.
a cute little baby mammoth there. From what I understand, though, it was the demise, the extinction of this type of elephant that led to the arising of the Jomon culture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we understand the Paleolithic Japanese were nomadic, and they basically followed the migration of the large animals of these and the elk.
So once they became scarce, people are like, what do
Yeah,
we do now?
exactly. So they slowly started becoming sedentary, and you can see like why, like following these guys, you're not going to have any pottery because you have to be
No,
carrying it
no.
all the time.
Yeah.
But with Jomon, they had, they could set up in places and then thus make this very intricate pottery that we have seen today. So what did you think of the museum?
Yeah, I liked it. I especially liked the display with the house they had.
Yeah.
They put that out so you could actually see.
Yeah, that was very
What-
nice, so we could get an idea
Yeah,
of what
exactly.
it looked like back
Yep.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. And also they had a lot of good displays, cross-section of the interior of the mounds and stuff
Mhm.
like that. And probably my favorite thing is there were not a lot of people here today.
All right. So would you recommend someone visiting?
Yeah, it's certainly
Yeah.
worth the 220, was it?
Yeah,
240?
220, 220, yeah.
220?
So anyway, so now we are going to get some food.
We're going to get
'Cause
some
I'm
food.
starving.
Let's do it.
All right. So this is Ronan Dave.
I'm Paul from Critical Eats Japan.
All right. See you